Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about sushi. Sushi is now one of the most popular traditional dishes in the world. It's a signature Japanese food made by combining vinegared rice with fresh seafood or other tasty ingredients. In Japan, people often eat sushi at home, but having it at a sushi restaurant where skilled chefs prepare it for you is a whole different experience. At high-end sushi restaurants, you can really appreciate the chef's technique, the carefully selected ingredients, and the seasonal flavors. On the other hand, conveyor belt sushi is a much more casual and fun way to enjoy sushi. It's a great place to go with family and friends, making it super familiar and popular in Japan. In this video, I'll be sharing some basic facts and history about sushi. If you're interested, stick around until the end. Originally, edome sushi referred to sushi made with fish caught in Tokyo Bay, back when it was still called Edo Bay. People in old Edo were known for being impatient, so they loved sushi that could be eaten quickly and easily at food stalls. That's how the style of pressing rice and fish together and serving it immediately, what we now call edome sushi, got started. And when it comes to edome sushi, the star ingredient has always been tuna. A sushi restaurant's reputation depended on whether they could get high-quality tuna. Some sushi chefs were so picky that they would close their shop if they couldn't get good tuna that day. But here's something surprising. Back then, people rarely ate raw tuna. Without refrigerators, it was hard to keep tuna fresh unless you were right by the fishing ports. By the time it reached most sushi shops, it wasn't fresh enough to eat raw anymore. That's where Zook came in. To make tuna last longer and taste better, sushi chefs soaked it in a marinade of soy sauce, mirin, and sake. This technique became a classic in edome sushi. These days, fatty toro is the most popular part of tuna, but in edome sushi, chefs take pride in bringing out the best flavor in lean red tuna by marinating it. Turning simple red tuna into something extra delicious, that's the real skill of edome sushi chefs. Even today, many edome sushi restaurants serve zuki maguro. So if you ever get the chance to try authentic Edo-style sushi, don't miss it. Did you know that the history of sushi in the Kansai region is actually much older than Edo-style sushi? It goes all the way back to the Heian period. In Kansai, a style of sushi called fermented sushi developed over time. One of the most famous types is narazushi, which is made by fermenting fish with salt and rice. This type of sushi still exists in some regions today. Back in the day, fermented sushi made with fish like mackerel, horse mackerel, and Pacific sori was common. Later, a new style called hakozushi emerged, using ingredients like fish from the Seto Inland Sea, thick omelets, conger eel, and shrimp. Hakozushi is made by tightly packing sushi rice and toppings into a wooden mold, pressing it down and shaping it beautifully. This was the beginning of Kansai-style sushi, also known as Osaka sushi. Over time, other varieties like rolled sushi, batra sushi, and stick sushi became popular, and people started referring to all of them as Osaka sushi. Unlike Edo-style sushi, which is meant to be eaten fresh at the counter, Osaka sushi was designed differently. People often brought it along as a meal when going to watch a play or for picnics, so it was made in a way that made it easier to carry around. Now, when it comes to sushi, the key to its flavor is the rice, or shari. Interestingly, the seasoning of shari is completely different between Edo-style and Kansai-style sushi. Since stick sushi and box sushi in Kansai were often eaten after sitting for a while, they were made with extra sugar to help the flavors blend together. That tradition continues today, which is why Kansai-style sushi has slightly sweeter rice compared to Edo-style sushi. If you ever try sushi in Kansai, you might notice it tastes a little sweet, but that's part of what makes it so delicious. If you ever get the chance to eat Kansai-style sushi, be sure to pay attention to the difference in the rice flavor too. Conveyor belt sushi was born thanks to the development of the conveyor system used to serve sushi. The person who came up with this idea was Yoshiaki Shiraishi, who ran a standing sushi bar in Osaka. At that time, his shop was super popular because it was cheap and delicious. But as more and more customers came in, he had to hire more sushi chefs, which made costs go up. He started wondering, is there a way to serve sushi more efficiently? One day, while visiting a beer factory, he saw a conveyor belt in action and had a eureka moment. This is it. He thought, if sushi moves on a conveyor belt, we won't need to carry it to customers. And immediately began developing the system. However, there was a big problem. The sushi would stop moving when it reached the curved sections of the belt. It took him 10 years of trial and error to figure out a solution. The breakthrough came when he noticed how business cards naturally fan out in a curved shape. That gave him the idea to design the belt's curves in the shape of a fan. With this, he finally perfected the crescent-shaped metal plate that allowed the sushi to move smoothly, and in 1958, Japan's first conveyor belt sushi restaurant, Mawaru Genroku Sushi, opened its doors. In 1970, Mawaru Genroku Sushi was featured at the Osaka Expo and became a massive hit. That event helped spread the concept of conveyor belt sushi all across Japan. But the reason for its popularity wasn't just because watching sushi move around is fun. There were other big advantages. The prices were clear and affordable. It got rid of the idea that sushi restaurants were expensive and intimidating. These things made customers really happy, and conveyor belt sushi quickly became a huge success. Now, more than 60 years have passed since its creation, but its popularity hasn't faded at all. In fact, it keeps evolving. These days, some conveyor belt sushi restaurants don't just serve sushi. Now you can get udon, soba, ramen, and even desserts. It's almost like a family restaurant now, offering a fun and casual dining experience. Conveyor belt sushi is now known all over the world, and it'll be exciting to see how it continues to evolve in the future. Did you know that sushi has a history of over 1,200 years? But the sushi from long ago was completely different from what we eat today. The oldest form of sushi didn't even involve eating the rice. Instead, rice was only used for fermentation. This type of sushi was called fermented sushi, and it was originally a way to preserve fish for a long time. It's believed that the roots of fermented sushi trace back to Southeast Asia, where people preserved fish and meat using fermentation. Eventually, this method made its way to Japan, and by the Nara period, 8th century, it evolved into something called narazushi. Narazushi was made by fermenting river fish with sweetened rice. Back then, it was considered a luxury food for the aristocracy and was even offered as tribute to the imperial court. You can still find a modern version of it in Shiga Prefecture, called funazushi. By the Kamakura period, narazushi had become more common, and people even started using leftover fish to make it. But at this point, rice was still just for fermentation. It wasn't eaten yet. It wasn't until the Edo period that sushi, as we know it today, made with vinegared rice, was born. During this time, street food culture thrived in Edo, leading to the invention of nigirizushi, the hand-pressed sushi we eat today. Because it used fresh seafood and seaweed from Tokyo Bay, it became known as edamame sushi. However, the sushi back then was much bigger, about the size of a rice ball. People sometimes even cut it into smaller pieces before eating. That's actually why modern sushi is often served as 2 pieces per plate. It's a tradition that comes from the past. Looking back at its history, sushi has constantly evolved over the centuries. Who knows how it will change next? During the Taisho period, more types of sushi toppings were introduced, and sushi gradually became smaller in size. These days, it's totally normal to see 2 pieces of sushi per plate, right? But actually, this style only became widespread after World War II. In particular, sushi from street stalls was seen as more of a light snack rather than a full meal. Sushi continued to evolve, but a major turning point came during the Showa era. As Japan entered its period of rapid economic growth, street sushi stalls started disappearing one after another due to sanitation regulations. But then, a hero appeared. In 1958, Japan's first ever conveyor belt sushi restaurant opened in Osaka. Thanks to this innovation, sushi once again became an affordable food for everyone. So the reason we can enjoy sushi so easily today is all thanks to this long history of evolution. Do you know why sushi has wasabi in it? Actually, there are 2 main reasons. The first reason is that wasabi's refreshing aroma and spicy kick help eliminate the fishy smell of raw fish. That's why adding wasabi to sushi makes the natural flavor of the fish stand out even more. By the way, did you know that grated wasabi and paste wasabi have different flavors and levels of spiciness? For super fresh fish, sushi chefs often use paste wasabi because it has a milder aroma. The second reason is that wasabi has antibacterial properties. It helps prevent food poisoning by stopping the growth of harmful bacteria. In fact, wasabi has been used as a medicinal herb for centuries. There are records from the Asuka and Heian periods that describe wasabi as a type of medicine. During the late Edo period, when nigiri sushi became popular, the habit of adding wasabi to sushi became the norm. Even back then, people instinctively knew that wasabi had some kind of detoxifying effect. Recently, studies have even shown that wasabi may help prevent strokes and heart attacks, and could even ease allergy symptoms like hay fever. Sushi isn't just delicious, it's packed with wisdom for good health too. Did you know that sushi was traditionally meant to be eaten with your hands? Nowadays, many people in Japan use chopsticks, especially since some cultures overseas prefer not to eat with their hands. Of course, there's no strict rule. You can eat sushi however you like. But if you don't mind, try picking it up with your hands sometime. Sushi chefs put incredible skill into making each piece, carefully adjusting the amount of air inside so that it melts perfectly in your mouth. If you squeeze it too hard with chopsticks, you might accidentally crush the delicate texture and miss out on the full experience. In Western dining, there's a concept of one bite-sized portions, and sushi is actually designed to be eaten in one bite too. Some sushi chefs even make slightly smaller pieces for female guests to make it easier to eat. At high-end sushi restaurants, the fish often comes with sauce already brushed on. This is because dipping the rice in soy sauce can make it too salty or cause it to fall apart. That's why it's considered good manners to lightly dip only the fish side in soy sauce. Sushi is deeper than it seems. Whether you're at a conveyor belt sushi place or a fancy sushi restaurant, knowing just a little bit of etiquette can help you enjoy sushi on a whole new level. Thank you for watching.